Morning question. How do you feel about going back to the office? For many people of color, the daily struggle goes beyond the early morning commute, with a recent study revealing that 80% of Black Canadians feel racism has negatively impacted them in the workplace. Here to tell us more is CEO of Grey Matter Health, Marcy Gray, and joining her is lawyer Samantha Peters, who created the toolkit called Black Femme Legal to help support and empower Black queer workers. Good morning to you both. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Morning. Good to see you. Marcy, we're going to start with you. Tell us about this study.
Yeah, so we just at first need to acknowledge that racism does exist in Canada and is impacting the workforce. As you said, 80% of Canadians are feeling that their relationship with their employer has been negatively impacted. We're also seeing that Canadians in general are concerned about systemic racism and racial injustice. And so this is setting the stage for 87% of Black Canadians are thinking that they don't want to return to the workforce. They would rather stay online, and that's because in the workplace they were experiencing racial discrimination, microaggressions, and they were facing a lot of the glass ceiling that they felt like they were not getting ahead in the workplace.
All right, back to my notebook, y'all. I like got a lot of stuff. This is what got me to where I am today. This right here. Keeping things in order, ideas, whatever. So, as I told y'all, I'm probably gonna be doing a lot more videos, and I'm gonna start my film journey pretty soon. So I'm gonna start looking at different cameras. We'll upgrade this iPhone pretty soon. Anyway, I wanted to talk about, adding on to that, building a mirage. I don't know why the hell people do that. They see me in here and they walk past. But I want to talk about the new hire blues. When you're coming into a new company, now it just kind of threw me off. It's kind of threw me off. Like, usually when I'm on trying to talk to somebody, they loud as hell, but then somebody see me in here and then they just, I don't know. Anyway, so basically, when you're coming in as a new hire, this is new ground. You don't know the environment, because a lot of times what happens when you have some of these, I'm sorry, I'm thrown off. That kind of gets, when you're coming into a new environment, you don't know what the environment is before you get there. The interview is just the mirage practice. You can kind of tell as you're going through different companies and just dealing with people over time what kind of stuff you're dealing with. I have to find me a new roost. Anyway, so you can kind of talk to people. You're in these interviews and you kind of get a feel to a certain degree. Now, when you're coming in initially with me, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, to a certain degree, you might just, like, you're just thinking, like, I just want to do my job. I want to do the right thing. I'm not really, it's not the word I'm using. That's not the word I'm trying to find. Not burdened, but you're like innocent. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of innocent. You're not weathered. You haven't really been through any of the storms. You haven't seen how these people play games. You haven't had an idea of the Jedi mind tricks a lot of times. So you're coming in, as I say, pure. So a lot of times when background noise is killing me, it's like, a lot of times you're taking what they say at face value because you assume that you done went to college, or you might have got some certs or an internship or experience or work on your own. You're assuming that when you're walking in, they're about as pure as you, intentional about getting the work done, and you just do the work and then that's it. That's what you think. And sometimes that is the case. But you have egos. You might have suspected race soldiers at work. So that's their world. So you're kind of in their world where somebody above you controls it, or somebody deputized themselves to try to control you. So you're just kind of wheezing by it and just doing your work, right? But let me pause this. Out of all the places this dude could go, he just keeps hovering around. It's like, get your ass. This is a quiet place. Go somewhere else and talk. Anyway. Yeah, I'm going to have to find me another little booth. Anyway. So, and I think he's doing it on purpose. I don't know. I think it's a little strange. It's like you could go anywhere else. But, so, you know, more than anything, I wrote down a list of some things that you want to look out for if you're coming into that environment. If you're working remote and you have a set of headphones, you can mute the Microsoft Teams or WebEx or whatever you're using. But then there's also another thing. This dude keeps walking past. It's the most irritating. Have you ever been on the phone or something like that, and somebody just keeps coming around, you get loud, and you just kind of like, okay, why don't you get away from me? It be this is what I'm talking about right now. It be stuff like that, like a basic home training. Some people don't got that. Anyway, this has a little mute. It has a mute button. Do not assume that works. I'm telling you what I know. It works, but don't assume that it does. Don't assume that it works. So you need to start thinking about what this dude did it again. He did it again, man. He did it again. Any other time, I swear, any other time, man, when I'm just sitting, man, I could be at my desk talking to somebody and it's just loud as hell. Any other time. But now I'm up in this thing and he keep walking around. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he just walking around and just being these folks, man, something else, man. Anyway, don't assume that the mute button works, because I've heard people say crazy stuff to other people and they didn't think they thought that nobody was listening to them. And you heard stuff in the background, or you heard certain things that people were saying. And, you know, you want to make sure that you don't say anything. You did it again. You did it again. Oh, man, I'm going to have to pause this or whatever, man. He did it again. So you're thinking that just because you got the mute button, somebody may not hear you. The audio interface setting in your audio device on your laptop or whatever it may be, that might not be, because you know you could choose Realtek, you could choose Bluetooth, whatever device you're using. You might have a Bluetooth or something like that. Which sometimes what I do, I'll take a Bluetooth device that I have, a personal Bluetooth device, and I will add it to my laptop, because most laptops nowadays have Bluetooth. But you want to make sure that that's selected, because let's say you say something you ain't supposed to, or whatever the case may be. Somebody else hears that, you can't take it back. It's almost like somebody talking slick about you, and you hear them, but they don't know you said something. That's a mental note for you. So when you see the person again, the communication that y'all had, they might be wondering why you could be standoffish or whatever, because you didn't said something to about them, or you know, and you just don't know why they're acting like that, or whatever the case may be. And they're acting like that because you might have said or did something. So make sure that mute button, is on point. Coded language, that's another thing. I've learned in the office, in a lot of office environments, especially in the environment I'm in, people tend to say things and they can get away with a lot more that they say as opposed to you. Now you figuring, well, they get away with it, so I could get away with it. No, it doesn't work that way. It might be tenure, or just might be blonde and present situation. They could just get away with it. So I might not say a lot, or I'll mend my words. Sometimes less is more. When people ask me how I'm doing, well, I'm still learning. Nobody can fault you for that, for saying how you doing? I'm still learning. Or a day at a time. So you and I both know what that means. I don't even know if I should explain it. When I say a day at a time, that's an open impression. That could be very vague. It might be somebody that's asking you how you doing. You know damn well they don't care about how you doing. But that's just a way for them to break the ice. And it's probably somebody that might have gave you a hard time, whatever. And you know how we are. We're black folks too emotional. We're emotional people because we deal with PTSD, and people are constantly targeting and undermining us while letting everyone else kind of just go about their way. So sometimes we'll try to minimize the conversation and try to figure out how to avoid even talking to them MFs. But you gotta talk to them because they act like puppies when you don't. So you'll talk to them, but you'll try to minimize it, but you don't want to be outwardly, you don't want it to look like you don't want to talk to them. And that's a key in code, what I call coded language. So a day at a time, I'm still learning. Nice day outside, very, very basic. And we master the ways of not being too short. So when people start asking you stuff, the bad guys and all, politics, all stuff like that, what they're really talking about is warfare. Anytime you got somebody at work that's trying to talk to you or get you to agree with something in terms of the political landscape, it all boils down to warfare. How much more does he get versus you? Because they will try to get you to side with an ideology or an idea, and then they will turn right around and undermine you right under your nose. That's something that they will do. But here's the key. If you avoid that conversation, you don't really have to deal with the ramifications of people identifying what you personally deal with, or what you personally agree or disagree with. So when you avoid that conversation completely, there's no room for them to think where you're at. You dig? So you can just say, I agree with justice. That's a good code word. Nobody is going to openly say, I disagree with justice. If somebody starts talking about something that's, politically charged or whatever, racial, do not entertain that in the workplace whatsoever. I don't care who it is. Now, if you got like a solid brother that you kind of vetted and stuff like that, then you might be able to get away with that. But, and you're going to kind of know. Like I got to the point where now I could walk into any environment and I start asking questions, 9 times out of 10, if I'm talking to another brother and sister, it's not even just an energy thing. I mean, it's an energy thing. It's a body language thing too. I can tell if they're from my culture. I don't even have to say anything to them. I can have a conversation. I could be talking to somebody else. Like I was on one floor one day at a job, and I was talking to somebody else, and I heard someone else of a different race talk to another black person, and the response that they gave that person, I knew they were from my culture. I knew. I could tell just by what their response was and how their body language was. They asked them a question, and their response was so timid and apologetic. I said, okay, where are they from? And they started they started telling them about themselves. Well, and this is my background and stuff like that. How did I know that? I didn't ask them nothing. I knew. I swore I knew. I said, yeah, they ain't really been around us much. And when they start talking to that person and start talking about their background, I was right on the money. So I know that I'm not going to talk to that black person about certain things, or I'm just, I'll be cordial, but I can just kind of tell. Like, I don't know about this person here, Whereas there was the environment I told you about where they had the Black History thing, or and there was a sister that I seen that I had talked to from time to time, say hello, friendly banter. And I said, yeah, I hope they get that flag color right. And she said, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I knew. We didn't have to kind of go back and forth with, we just knew. It's like they say, real recognize real. I just knew. I know that might be a person that if I need to confide with a little bit about something that's going on, they're going to kind of say, well, look, don't really mess with them like that. Just keep it, we know how to speak in coded language. We could use certain gestures or say certain things where just expressions, and it could be a way we move our hands or whatever, and we don't have to get in detail, and we're lockstep. Another thing with new hire, you shouldn't deal with this right off the bat. Fifth and 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. If somebody's undermining you to a certain point or whatever like that, you use HR. That's your 5th and 14th. If HR is acting funny, you go to the director of HR, or you start talking to the company lawyer if you need to. That'll really shake some stuff up. You ain't gonna make no friends, but if it gets to the point where it's unbearable and somebody's doing some things that they're not supposed to be doing, I talk about that on my second book a lot. Talk about that. So you, like I said, you got to learn the landscape. Learn the landscape and learn who you should be dealing with. Don't feel pressured all the time unless you're in like a very, very visible position, like it's communication or some kind of marketing or something where you have to be at all of these different places, because you got to understand the way that you were raised at home and then you get into these corporate environments a lot of times is night and day. I'm talking about into the point of folks not even washing their hands. So when you start going to these different places and you might get invited, like one time I was working at a company and I got invited to somebody's house in Minnetonka or Excelsior. And when they gave me the address where everybody's supposed to be, they're going to have drinks, and you got to think they got big swimming pools in the backyard and stuff like that. All of the people that were there in my group in IT that I don't rock with, that I would never hang out with outside of work, that's still considered work. When you get invited to the bar, that's work. And they're getting you liquored up. They getting you liquored up so you can start talking about how you really feel and who you are outside of work. Do not let that, yeah. If you got to go to the bar and if you partake in some drinks, I don't want to spoil y'all's fun, man, but I wouldn't even drink. Because you know you're going to be you. You're going to be more you. You're just more who you are because you feel more obliged to say what you want to say and stand on it because you're drinking. You might say something or your posture might be a little different. You might be like, yeah, this is what I said. You know? And you're just looser because you didn't drink. And now you're around some folks that's like, oh, okay, well, this is how he is, or whatever the case may be. I wouldn't even drink. You know, I wouldn't drink unless you know, and you got to know that for a fact. I wouldn't even drink. I wouldn't partake in no drink. And you're gonna be the party pooper because people are gonna be like, oh, well, we're all loose and everything, and they see that they do that too. They get real loose. And this is what an older brother told me. You ever go to one of them parties and stuff like that, Becky gonna get real loose. You gonna lose your job behind that. Becky start getting too loose. She get to touching on you, rubbing on you and all that. And then you think, well, shit, we can go back to her house after this bar, after this work shindig. And she might take you back there. She might let you Randy Savage power driver. And then the next day you come to work. She remembers that. She trying to hit you with she trying to Anton Fisher you. You know what I'm saying? Don't fall for that either. That goes into another thing. Fraternizing at work. You might meet, because a lot of these environments, especially downtown, they be some fly sisters. They be on point. You're going to have to be a little mindful on how you move around. If it's someone you want to talk to and it's a sister or something like that, even at work, you're going to have to keep it cool. You're going to have to let work be work. And then, you know, some people say don't even do it. Don't talk to nobody at work. But you might be to a point like, remember that story I told y'all when I was downtown? It's like '08 or whatever the case may be. And that vanilla mocha thing, that 5+ vanilla mocha thing that looked like a horse, it had a horse on her. Around that time, I was trying to be super professional. The other IT people seen that she was digging me. Like, hey, I'm trying to see what's going on with you at the weekend. I wasn't really trying to budge because I thought I was going to get fired. I probably should have took her on her offer. I probably should have. At that point, they was letting me go in December anyway, of 2008. I should have took that offer. I should have took that offer. I mean, she was tall like a giraffe with a whole horse on her. I might as well. But now, as a perm hire, and I guess it shouldn't matter where you contracting or not, but as a perm hire, there's somebody at work that's assisting checking you out. You still need to do your due diligence, because the thing is if you talking to her outside of work and you guys get into a little spat or whatever, and that's anybody you talking to, y'all are at work now. So, especially if you're in the same department, oh man, something could go left, and then now, you know, y'all having issues at work through your personal issues. You need to be mindful of that. You need to be mindful of that. If you're at work, especially if you're a brother and you making some real change, and there's a bunch of choosing, because you're gonna get chose. Best believe that. Somebody gonna choose you. Especially if you know your shoe game up, and then, you know, you in a corporate environment, so your clothes gonna be up. You need to be mindful of, if you get chose at work, how you manage that, and if you want to deal with them outside of work or whatever like that, because you know, I'm telling you, you're gonna get successful, brothers. I'm talking to the brothers. You're gonna get successful to a point where you look up, and man, it starts off with lunch. Well, let's have lunch together. All right. The next thing they're going to start asking is marriage questions and stuff. And actually, these questions people be asking, they just ask us innocent questions. They're not really supposed to be asking those questions. Because really, when you ask about your personal stuff, then now it starts getting into your kids or whatever like that. They're asking you these questions because they choosing. They're not asking these questions just to, you get you something fly and they asking you questions like that. Just know. Well, are you married? Are you this? Or whatever. She's trying to see, are you available? All right? She want to know if you available. See, I was green when I first came in. My first contract with Robert Half, I was just Dr. Green Thug, Jolly Green Giant. I was Jolly Green Giant, Jolly Green Midget. For real. Hey, what you doing on this weekend? I'm really thinking she done. Oh, I'm gonna work on a couple laptops and sell some and do all this here. I could tell by looking at her. She's like, Negro, I'm asking you. I'm trying to see what's happening because she's already identified. Like, okay, this brother's here. For him to get here, what did he do to get here? He's here in this building, so he had to work, and he had to been good, and he had to interview well. So I know that he's on top of his game. So she's asking me, what are you doing this weekend? She's already chose. I'm walking around the building. All right? Every time she sees me, she's smiling and grinning. I'm so green, I'm not getting it. I'm still young at the time. What you doing this weekend? Oh, I'll probably sell me some laptops or something like that. And I told my coworkers that, and they like, what? You said you didn't get her number? I'm like, man, I'm trying to be professional. I ain't trying to mess nothing up, whatever. They said, man, please, if you don't, But if you go back and you look at my old video where I said tall vanilla mocha, that old video, you go back and look at the adventures of DP, the tall vanilla mocha. Some of these adventures of DP, yeah, they talk about a lot of work stuff, but I'm kind of telling y'all on my way up. You still got to be mindful, man. I'm not saying ain't nobody gonna me too you. That's not, but I'm just saying you got to be mindful. This is New Hire Blues. I think I'm gonna do a series of this.